Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is the Real Estate Regroup Show, and I am your host, LJ Walker. Today, I wanted to dedicate this video to Tito Jackson. When I came out with the other one, 2300 Jackson Street, and I published it on the day of his death, I had no idea. I actually didn't see anything about him dying until way after I posted it. And when I did see it, I thought, okay, this is fake news. I didn't think it was real. So it was really shocking to me. Like I really was not expecting that at all, especially since I had seen another video where I think he was in Germany or somewhere, where they had made a statue in honor of Michael. So I thought everything was all right, So guys, this proves that you never know the time nor the hour. So we really got to stay ready, okay? But what I'm here to do is share my memories, of course, and then a real estate / financial lesson that we can learn from the life of Tito, okay? Personally, no, I've never met him before, but because I am a big Michael Jackson fan, and I found out that Tito was born October 15th and I am born October 13th, I was like, oh, okay, when you see somebody born, either on your birthday or near your birthday, you make a connection, So that's basically what it is between myself and Tito. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about history. Some of you who are Michael Jackson fans, you already know this. Tito Jackson was a child prodigy. He was the founding member of the Jackson 5 and then later on the Jacksons. Because what happened is when he was 8 years old, that's when he went into his closet and took his father's guitar. Michael was only about 1 because they're like 7 years apart. Okay, and then as soon as Joe heard Tito play, that's when he got the boys together and said, okay, we forming a group now. All right, so Tito really is the one that got the ball rolling. And if it wasn't for Tito, there wouldn't be a Jackson 5, there wouldn't be a Jacksons, none of that. So there goes a point for being disobedient. They always say obey your parents and what have you. Well, hey, sometimes it pays not to. But listen, I'm not encouraging everybody. I'm just saying. All right. The next thing that I wanted to mention is that I do believe that Michael and Tito definitely had a bond together because in a way, Michael was also a prodigy, right? And then on top of that, if you guys who are old enough and you remember when they were doing the Pepsi commercial, who was the first person? As a matter of fact, I think he was like the only person that Michael called for, and that was Tito when his hair got burned in that commercial. So to me, that says that there was a lot of trust and that they were pretty close between those two brothers, right? Now, moving along later on, Tito becomes 18, and that's when he marries his high school sweetheart, Dolores Martez. And many, did not approve of this, even though it did last pretty long, and honestly, I'm not going to get into it too much, but I think it could have lasted a little longer than it did. But needless to say, unlike many young adults, normally they move out when they get married or they're pushed out when they turned 18. But Tito, his situation was a little bit different. At this particular time, he was living at Havenhurst. And at Havenhurst, each of the Jackson children had their own bedroom, right? Well, Tito insisted he went ahead and got married But instead of moving out the house right away, the family actually agreed and they built another floor so that he and his wife could stay there. Mind you, at that particular time, they were millionaires, each of them, right? So it's not like he didn't have the means to leave. He chose to stay. Okay. And I thought, wow, that is really something, because I think most Libras, most of us are family oriented, and many of us love to stay connected with our families. I know that whenever I go visit a family member or two, particularly that I haven't seen in a while, it does something to me spiritually. So I kind of can see that, you know what I mean? And then also, some of you may be saying to yourself, why build on to the house? Why not move out? Well, let me tell you something. Building onto the house, number one, is cheaper than moving out. And then number two, it actually raises the value of the home. Because I told you, Joseph spent $250,000 on that house. That house today is worth $4 million. Way more than what they have in Gary. Okay? So, listen, it's something to consider. All right? This, of course, is definitely different from how his sister, his older sister, Rebe, she actually was the one that got married first. She was also living in Havenhurst, but she decided to move out. So she and Tito didn't necessarily take the same route. Okay, Tito's choice was to maintain the closeness of the family ties while he was starting his own family. All right. Now, you might be wondering, well, yes, Tito did, eventually buy his own home. As a matter of fact, when he died, he had more than one home. He had homes in California and in Nevada. But guess what? His first home, his very first home that he bought, was when he was 27. And to me, that's significant, because the very first home I bought, I was 27 also. So you see, there's similarities between me and him. I can definitely relate to him in that particular way. And I'm pretty sure, staying in that home, Havenhurst, there were definitely challenges there, because they didn't really care for the marriage. And it wasn't just the family. I understand that even some people in the industry, they wanted to make them like sex symbols and what have you. And they thought that by him getting married, that couldn't be the case. But contrary to popular belief, I did have a friend that had a major crush on Tito. So, yeah, that was the conventional thought back in the day. But trust me, that does not stop women or girls, little girls, from having crushes on people. It really doesn't. Okay. Now, here's what I wanted to bring up, though, because this is something that was brought to my attention when I was moving out. And, I got made fun of. I was not married when I did it, but because it, quote unquote, it took me so long to do it. One of the reasons why it took me so long to do it is because New York is too freaking expensive, okay? So I'm pretty sure if I would have lived somewhere else where it was cheaper, I would have moved out a lot earlier. But that was not the case for me. All right. And I did not have $1 million like Tito did. Okay. That's another thing that people need to keep in mind. But I don't know. People just overlook that. But there is, and I think times are changing a little bit with the different cultures in the United States, but there is a subculture that I figured out or came to me where, when you turn 18, you're supposed to leave the house. You're not supposed to stay there. And this is actually more of an American philosophy, because those of us who are immigrants or who are children of immigrants, that's not typically how our parents raise us. Typically, our parents raise us kind of like how the Jacksons are. You don't move out until you're married. Uh, there are times, yeah, when you may move out a little bit earlier, but typically speaking, no, we really don't move out until we get married. And then some of us, there are some cultures like you can get married, you can move out. Guess who moving in with you? Your parents. They might move upstairs, downstairs, or whatever, but they moving in with you. That's just how it is. But yeah, I was shocked. And they were really, really like gung ho and really against me for staying until I was 27. So I can kind of imagine what maybe Tito may have been through, or maybe what he went through. I can only imagine, being that, I never met him, right? But this philosophy, believe it or not, there are still some people that believe in the sink or swim approach. Okay, they believe that fosters independence and self-reliance. But if you look at me and if you look at Tito, that's not necessarily the case. You can get strength and success maintaining close relationship with your family and while you're still growing and developing into adulthood. All right. When I look at him, it seemed to me that he was able to have a good balance between his career, his family life, and also, you could say, personal growth as well. Now, the home he bought was not too far away from the home in Encino, which is the Havenhurst house. Okay. And when I look over at his life in total, I know that he, like I mentioned before, he acquired other properties. I don't see any records where he ever filed for bankruptcy, and I don't see any records where he ever was foreclosed on. So that's very telling. That tells me that he was pretty good financially, maintaining some level of financial stability, if you will. And his journey also demonstrates to me, and hopefully to others, that one size doesn't necessarily fit all. Because to me, I think we're all different. I don't think, sometimes we let culture play a little bit too much in the life that God may want us to live. And I know that, yeah, there are some people who are mature when they're 18, but let's be honest, there are some people that are not mature at 18. They don't have any skills, they don't have any experience, they don't have that much knowledge, and kicking them out of the house at 18, especially when you live in places that are extremely expensive like New York and California, I don't know about that. I really don't see too many of them that have been all that successful. Not to say that they don't exist, but I personally have not met anybody that is doing that well, that great, who was pushed out, kicked out when they were 18 years old. Okay? So, in conclusion, I just want to say that with Tito's life, it shows that success and independence can take on many different forms. And sometimes the path less traveled might be better for a person. It can lead to a more fulfilling life, career, and you can still, maintain the support and love of your family. Okay, that's basically where I'm coming from with this. So my question to you guys is, how many of you moved out at 18? How many of you were pushed out at 18? Do you wish that you stayed living with your parents longer? Now, for those of you who moved out later, how many of you wish you moved out earlier? Later meaning let's say you moved out at 21 or 25 or 27 like me, how many of you wished you moved out earlier? For me personally, honestly, I'm glad that I didn't move out at 18. I'm glad that my mother did not push me out at 18. At 18, I just started college. That was expensive, even though I got scholarships to pay for it, but it was still a lot. The scholarships really only pay for tuition and books. They don't pay for everything, right? And it's a lot. Even when you get a little job, paying you minimum wage back then still wasn't enough, so I'm personally, for me, it worked out better that I moved out later. Okay, yes, I had a job, but I was able to save my money, and then because I was able to save my money, I had a lot more to put down on buying property. If I had moved out at 18, I don't think I would have fared as well as I did. And then on top of all of that, I went through a recession. When I graduated at 21 from college, a recession hit and it was hard for me to get a job. So, I don't agree that everybody should get kicked out, even though I know that that happens. I know that that is the mentality, but I I don't necessarily agree that that's the best way for everyone, but I still would like to know what your thoughts and opinions are. So please feel free to share that down in the comment section. Okay, and listen. Also share the video around your friends. Remember, each one reach one, teach one. Bye for now. Until next time. Have a good night.